Hey everybody, it's Greg Harrelson here, and of course it's that time every week, Tuesday around this time. It is 11:30 on the East Coast. I'm in South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach to be exact. And of course, we have a mastermind call together where I give some coaching ideas, as to how we're using the Real Geeks platform, how we're using the system. Excuse me. A lot of you don't know that I'm actually one of the first Real Geeks websites that was ever built. So I've been with Real Geeks for many, many, many years. And I wouldn't doubt, and I'm going to ask them, but I wouldn't doubt if I'm probably the oldest, not in age, I'm 54, but I wouldn't doubt if I'm the longest standing client that they probably have right now. There's a possibility that that's not true, but if there's a few, I'd like to know who they are because, quite frankly, that would be something else because I've been with the organization so long. When I say organization, I've been a user because I'm not technically with the organization. But on these Tuesday calls, my goal is just to give you some information on how you can just better leverage the Real Geeks technology. And today we're going to be talking about building a data bank, And to me, the thought around building a data bank is very, very important because databases, I think we all know that we need a database. Um, but I just don't think that we know how important it is to have a database. And what I like to call it a data bank. And I call it a data bank because if you build your database and nurture your database correctly, you should be getting business out of your database. And we all have Real Geeks. That's what brings us together. We all have a CRM here that we know. It's a CRM in common. I think Moses was the first. Okay, that was really good. That's a good one. I like that. So we all have the tools to house our database. The question is, are we really focusing every single day to build that database? See, building the database is how you get a database. Building a database and nurturing that database with quality content is how you get a data bank. A database, you put a bunch of information in, nothing comes out. It's just building a database. A data bank is you put that information in, you build your database, you nurture that database with quality content of value. The database sees you as an authority and they start to reach back out to you. Or when you do call them, they're so familiar with you, you're trusted, they have confidence in you that you've got immediate rapport. And if they're looking to do something, they're willing to do it with you. That's what I mean by a data bank. So, I know I've talked to a lot of people that are beginners with Real Geeks, and a lot of times the people that are just getting out their websites, they're always saying, "Oh gosh, I don't have a database." Yes, you do. All of us have a database. Your database is your cell phone right now. For some of you, it's as simple as your database is in your cell phone. And a lot of you don't know, but you can actually go to your phone and you could go to your app store and you could search for an app that might say something like export my phone contacts into a CSV file. You could export within seconds. You could export maybe 99 cents in seconds. You could export your entire cell phone database into a CSV spreadsheet. You take that CSV spreadsheet and you go find missing data because you may have their cell phone number, but not their email address. So you kind of like see the spreadsheet, you'll see what kind of missing data you have. You go find that missing data, and now you have a nice, clean, complete spreadsheet of hundreds of contacts. You can upload those into your Real Geek CRM. Now you're building a database. So that's one of the first things that you should do. So a lot of you have never done that. And a lot of us, our biggest database is our contact list and our cell phone. A lot of us, our biggest single database is the cell phone. So if you want to build a data bank, number one is you've got to start adding those people to your CRM. So there's other ways that you can find people. Like if you're calling for sale by owners, then when you're talking to a for sale by owner and maybe they say, no, we're not going to go with a real estate agent, say, no problem. Hey, a lot of your neighbors like it when I keep them up to date as to what's going on in the market. As you're probably aware, the slightest little shift in the economy can have a significant impact on the price of your property. What's your best email? I'll make sure you're getting the same updates. See, I just gave you a script on how you could use that on a FSBO. They say, okay, yeah, sure, email it here. And then now you put them in your CRM and then you activate a market activity report for their neighborhood. Now you're sending them a monthly report. See, that's part of the nurture. And the nurture has value. Has value in the sense that it's informing them as to how their investment, their real estate holdings are doing. So that's part of the nurture. So you can have a database, but if you're not connecting like market activity reports or different things within your database, you're not nurturing it properly, then the database itself has no value. It has no value outside of a CRM and it has no value inside a CRM until you're nurturing that database. Are your centers of influence in your database? Probably not. Is your family in your database? Probably not. If they own property, you might be thinking, they're definitely going to use you. No, they're not definitely going to use you. You can easily set them up on market activity reports. They'll be happy to see those reports. Maybe they'll act like they're not interested in like, no, don't send me that stuff. But watch, they will be opening it. They will. If you're doing any circle prospecting, if you're doing open houses, these are all ways to build a database. Now, I'm talking about DataBank, though. So I'm going to get into DataBank. Now, if any of you are interested, by the way, so I'm going to tell you about the DataBank ideas on how to convert your database into a data bank. But I will just real quick, just let you know that if any of you want more extensive coaching on Real Geeks or what we're doing, we do well over 1,000 sales, closer to 2,000 sales a year in my company, all going through Real Geeks. It's leads that we have funneling and that we're working through Real Geeks. So I have 300 agents in Real Geeks myself in my company websites, and I have around 9 Real Geeks websites and been using it for many, many, many years. So I say all that not to impress you, but to impress upon you that we really have a good grasp on how to leverage the system and turn it into business. I call it monetizing Real Geeks. So if you want more coaching, deeper coaching, more in-depth coaching, please check out rgmastery.com. Maybe you'll join us. There's no contract. It's very inexpensive. It's a live group call. It's recorded every single week and archived for you to review again. And I was on a plane going to California this past, I think I left on Thursday, came back on Sunday, but I left on Thursday, went to California, and the entire trip to California on the plane, I rewrote workflows based on how I think workflows need to be. You know, now that the industry is changing, there's issues with deliverability and people like opting out, et cetera. I rewrote the workflows, the text sequences, the email sequences. I put them all together. I then will be giving that to all of my Real Geeks Mastery clients. So that's just an idea of the types of things that you get if you're involved. Back to building a database or a data bank though. Okay, so we used to think that you could touch your database. You know, 25, 36 was a very common one. 36, touch plan was very common. And I think those were brilliant systems back in the day. But everyone's in the game now. Okay, in other words, Zillow, we compete against Zillow for attention. So Zillow has our leads in their database. We have their leads in our database. But Zillow does a better job in most cases at communicating to their database. Like Zillow has saved searches set up for their people. And if the people don't save a search, like favored a certain type of search, then they'll actually send something for that particular zip code. So you think about like what a realtor.com or Zillow and all these lead companies, if you think about what they're doing, they're assembling a database, but then they're nurturing the heck out of it. I mean, if you should just get in the Zillow database and see all the nurturing that they're doing. If you're wondering like, what should you be sending your leads Well, why don't we just take notes from the big companies, the companies like Zillow's that are sending stuff to their leads? We have to assume they do A/B testing. We have to assume they spend millions of dollars in marketing to determine what's the best messages to send out, what's the best subject lines to use. So we can actually learn a lot by just being a consumer in the database and observe exactly what they're sending and maybe start emulating some of that inside of your database. But I want you to notice one thing. They are going to touch you way more than 36 times in a year. They're going to touch you way more than 40 times in a year. They're probably going to touch you 60 plus times in a year. So my touch plan is 60 plus touches. It's probably closer to 70. So for instance, a market activity report, that's sent out once a month. There's 12 touches. Let's say I do a HomeBot report, sent out once a month. There's 24 touches. You see, I can get to 60 to 70 pretty quickly. When you're doing, when you have buyers in your database and you have, properties like saved searches. Like, think about this. You should go to your Real Geeks database and look at all the people that do not have a saved search, meaning they're not getting any notifications when listings come on the market that fit their criteria. So your ability to touch them is none. There's no touches going on. Compare that to Zillow. Zillow would be touching that same buyer many, many times. I really don't know. I've never counted Zillow's touches, so forgive me, I can't give you an exact number, but I just know how many emails I'm getting from them as a buyer. And I know that it's way more than any real estate agent is sending them. So I think we need to take a lesson. You might not like Zillow, but let's face it, Zillow does have a lot of attention from the consumer. There's a lot of eyeballs reading Zillow's stuff. And I have to ask, did they get the attention because they built the database, or are they getting the attention because they're constantly reaching out and touching their database and then driving people back? One of the new workflows that I just created, it was a little different. I have a workflow where I created a page on our website called the top 10 new listings to hit the Myrtle Beach market. It's a page on the website, and I pull in the new listings on that website. So in the workflow, I can text the link or I can email a link, say, hey, I'm not sure that you saw the new listings that just hit the market in Myrtle Beach, but if you'd like to see the newest listing to hit today, just check it out. Check it out here. It drives so many people click on that link, whether it's email or text, and it drives them right back in. Like, that's the text that gets so few opt-outs or stops or unsubscribes. That text gets so much engagement. Now what I did is I added a new email, and the new email is I sent an email out, and I can't remember exactly what the subject line is. It's one of those that I'm giving to my coaching clients. But in the body of the email, it's like, check out all the new listings broken down into price category. And then in the email, the body of the email, I have multiple categories, links. The link would say condos from 0 to 100,000, then 101 to 200,000, 201 to 300,000, 301 above. And then I do homes, 100 to 200,000. And then I do, a few different categories. So there's multiple links in that email, and I'm sending that out to them. And what I'm doing is I call it a smart list. Here, check out a smart list. Here's a smart list. This can direct you to homes or condos in these price points in this town. The click-through ratio on that is huge. You see, I'm giving them something of value about DataBank. You got to nurture it. So I guess point number one would be nurture it 60 plus times. Point number two, when you're nurturing it, you have to give them a reason to engage with you. Hey, I don't know if you saw the new listings, but I wanted to create some smart lists for you so you could quickly see what's listed in each one of these price points. And then they just see that and they like click. Guess what? They end up clicking on multiple of them. So what ends up happening? Really good engagement prevents them from opting out or unsubscribing because they see it as value. How do I know they see it as value? Because they're not saying stop or unsubscribing on that. Yes, I have sent things that say stop or unsubscribe or say it's spam. And I don't send those things anymore. I know that I have got to change it up if that's what I'm getting. So think of it as don't get frustrated when you get unsubscribes. Use it as feedback. Use it as feedback is that was not compelling enough. So what I'm doing is I'm figuring out what's getting the most click-through ratios, what's not getting, and I'm making sure I'm building my workflows to be nurturing my database based on what they're telling me they want, based on them not unsubscribing. See, when they unsubscribe, they tell me what they don't want. Somebody's asking, do I do this as individual emails or e-blasts? This is part of a nurture campaign. So that means I would be building a workflow inside of Real Geeks and doing this. Now, the difference is my workflows, as I coach workflows to be shorter in duration, not long in duration. It's hard to actually deliver value to a database in a bulk mass scenario or a long-term workflow. You do not know what valuable information is going to be needed to communicate in 6 months. You set it and forget it, then they're going to forget it. So in 6 months, interest rates are going to likely be different than they are today. So I'm doing shorter workflows and I'm switching them up more often so they're very relevant. Very relevant. But everything that I've spoke about so far is based on a workflow. You may say it's a blast. A blast would just be one single sequence. Most of mine are a minimum of 2, maximum of 4. Most common is probably 2 to 3. It's a text and an email, an email and an email. But the market activity report would be monthly. If I have a sold report and a market activity report going out to somebody, that's 24 touches right there. Then I create an email. If I was going to do an email blast, the email blast would look like this. I'm actually getting ready to do one right now. I've created an email. And the email is going to be, the subject line is going to be Myrtle Beach Real Estate Annual Report. Okay, it's going to be the annual report. I'm doing a report on 2023, summarizing the entire market, getting that data from the MLS, by the way. So I'm not creating the reports. I'm pulling them. I had my graphic designer make a nice little cover so it looks like a custom report with the MLS sheets in about the market data inside the report. I then put that on a server on Amazon. So we create a link, a live link, and then I'm sending in an email out. And this goes out once a month, not this exact subject, but once a month, I'm going to send an email out. I'm going to custom write it. It's going to be a Myrtle Beach real estate update. And I'm going to say, if you'd like to see what the market did in 2023, click here. Tons of people are going to click and go see that PDF. Tons of people are going to click. My click-through ratio is going to be just off the chain. So sold report, market activity report, and then I just custom did an email with a link to an annual report. I'm already at 36 touches for the year. If it's a buyer and I'm also adding property alerts, as you can see, I can get to 60 plus pretty quickly if I choose to. So the point that I want to hammer in consistently is, besides building the database, a data bank is what we want. The data bank is what has value. The data bank is where people are calling you, or you're calling them, and it's an easy conversation because they're warm to you. They're warm leads, not cold calls. They're warm calls. That's what we're looking for. So a lot of what I've done here is I've given you information. If you want ideas on like, okay, well, what other stuff can we send them that would have value? Well, I don't know your market, but at every one of our markets, most of us have to pay property taxes. So In my market, I think the property tax bill comes out in October or November. I think it's the end of October. So at the end of October, I'm creating an email, and in the email, I'm saying, hey, look, your tax notices are probably going to hit your mailbox pretty soon. If you're like me, I open them up, I look at them, and then a lot of times my value, the property assessed value increases. And sometimes I don't think my property value has increased. So in the event that you feel like your property value, the property taxes are based on a value that's more than your property's worth, then click here to see how you can appeal your tax assessed value. And then I'll put some other stuff in there. And that link goes to the tax assessor's office in my county. And in the tax assessor's website, there's probably a how to appeal your assessed value page. I'm just going to send them to that page. By the way, funny story. I forgot about this until just now. One year I did this. I do this all the time, but one year I did this and I did not even think that they had a link to their website, the county assessor's office website. And what I did is I posted their telephone number on my email. Here's the assessor's contact information. Within a week, somebody from the assessor's office called me and said, hey, we are getting bombarded with calls about appealing their assessed value. We have no problem with it, but a lot of the questions that people are asking, and I can't remember what it was, they said, is this. And here's the answer. The next time you send it out, is there any chance that you could just put that in there that might kind of slow down some of the calls? That's how darn good that worked. See, I will have people now that are in my database that will ask me every year, hey, any chance you can send me a CMA so I can see what my value is, see if I can appeal my taxes? And you darn right we do that. Because I'm building a data bank. And you can do all this within Real Geeks. Right now, I don't know what your market is, but we all had to pay property taxes, but I don't know what the insurance situation in my markets right now, in the state of South Carolina and the North Carolina, where I'm in multiple markets, our insurance premiums are skyrocketing. I know in California, because of forest fires, that insurance premiums in a lot of areas are skyrocketing. So I got some information about insurance, and I put an email together. And I sent a link. Hey, look, here's our preferred insurance companies that we use. Here's the one that I personally use. I'm sure they'd be happy to give you a quote whenever your insurance is up for renewal. And I'm actually talking to people about how to drive their insurance costs down. See, it's relevant. It's relevant to my market. It's relevant to the time. It's relevant to both. That's building a databank. Daryl, which do you prefer, Save Searches or Market Report? Okay, so Save Searches typically, Daryl, is going to be something that we're sending if it's a buyer lead. And Market Activity Reports is 100%. I'm going to send that to every seller that I have in my database. When I say a seller, by the way, I mean property owner. If I know that they're a documented property owner, I know they own property in my market, they will get a Market Activity Report for that neighborhood. If they're a buyer, then I'm going to be doing more Save Searches. I'm also going to be making sure that I'm refining their favorites, so there's a lot of relevance. And then I'm going to send those other emails out to them with things like, or text that say, hey, I don't know if you've seen the new listings that hit the market. Click here, see the top 10 listings that just hit the market, including some that may have just hit 15 minutes ago. Because my website's updating every 15 minutes. So when I send them to that link to that page, that thing's live. It's in real time. So I can use that language. And because I'm saying some of these are only been on the market for the last 15 minutes, man, I'm getting click-throughs on that because it's so enticing. Do we prefer the market reports or the property valuation reports? if it's a documented seller, I'm using the market activity reports. Property valuation reports, I have a feeling, in my opinion, Paul, and you might have stumped me here. I thought those were the same thing, but there might be something. Market reports seem to be less engaging than Okay, well, I'm going to actually look into that myself. I'm sure if Lindsay was on the call, she would straighten me up real quick. But I'm going to look at the difference. But you said something here. You said property valuation reports seem to be more engaging. Paul, whatever you feel is more engaging is exactly what I would be using. Default to more engaging. I'm going to actually look it up, and I see two options on the dashboard. I will, what I'll do is I'll probably come back to the, I'm just making a note here. I'll probably come back to the Facebook page after we're done, and I'll put my answer in the comment section, Paul, and I'll seek you out and give you that. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. But I always default to most engaging. So to wrap this up, DataBank, that's the nurturing that you're doing that creates a DataBank. Use relevance. I gave you some ideas on like the assessed value email and insurance email, the annual report, the top 10 listing. I mean, right there's 4 different things that a lot of you probably are not doing. Then you got the market activity reports. Property valuation is going to be, I see what you said, Celine. So I'm going to look at that, and I probably should know what that is, but I'm just probably blanking on the terminology. Anyways, if there's anything I can do for you, if you all are more interested to learn more from me and what we're doing with Real Geeks, again, I'm doing a lot when it comes to giving workflows and everything else. So if you're interested, check out rgmastery.com. If you're not interested in going to that next step, then continue to just watch these Tuesday calls. These are free. It's something that I do for Real Geeks because of my relationship with them. I just want to help any of you, reach the next level. Real Geeks has been really good to me, meaning the websites have been really good to me, my family. I've built a large company around this platform, and I can help you do the same. Talk to you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.